here with you on the chain. Today we are going to talk about China dominance in the digital asset blockchain space. Are they a rival or are they a direct global threat? That's what we're going to talk about. Stay tuned because it's getting ready to start right. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's get into analyzing, dissecting, and trying to figure this out because we're seeing a ton of technology that's coming out of China right now. We're seeing a focus by the president of China, President Xi. Obviously, we've talked about this on the chain. Others have talked about the fact that that China is embracing blockchain technology, that they've already announced that they want to be the first to have a digital currency. Now, the question is, is this something that is a global threat? Is it a regional threat? Or is it just something that's going to help spur this space along and see about the full adoption of digital currency throughout the world? So let's look at it from a couple different perspectives. First, we want to look at China from the good. Now you have over 1 billion people, and you have over 1 billion people that you're giving the opportunity to actually build and adopt on blockchain technology, build and adopt into the cryptocurrency space. So what does all of this really mean? And that's something that we truly want to try to analyze because, if we look at it from a perspective of the unbanked, if we look at it from a perspective of those who are attempting to get into an entrepreneurial type of lifestyle, or if you're thinking about those who might have come from an agrarian based environment or whatever, they have an opportunity to create wealth, whether it's by investing directly into digital asset or whether it's investing in the development of technology based on blockchain. But then there's another question that comes up. Is China creating enough freedom for anyone within their country to actually start developing, or is it a centralized, controlled rollout? Because one of the things that we've already heard is that they are going to centralize this in certain regions so that if it doesn't succeed, it goes away. Who knows what they do with those people? The rest of the country will never know from it one way or the other. So they are going to create blockchain centric zones, a couple of them as test beds. Good or bad? I don't know. Leave some comments below and let's discuss that further. But what they are also doing, again, setting a national precedence, an international precedence for leading the economy of a country into adopting blockchain, into, again, the potential digital currency. Now, let's focus in on what does that actually mean if they're going to then develop a digital currency. Is this something that is positive or is it negative? So now let's look at the bad side of it, because we know this is a country with social scoring. We know this is a country that's heavily centralized. We know this is a government with a long history of government control and overregulation of its population through communist rule, through the tightening of the noose around the economy. Although we've seen a lot of years of prosperity, a lot of years of companies being able to grow, technologies being able to develop. But there's still that impetus within government to seize control. Now, if you then begin to develop into blockchain, you then develop into digital currency, cryptocurrency, there's a tendency there for the government now to regulate, especially since their primary focus and concern is a centralized digital currency. Social scoring, centralized digital currency. It has all of the tendencies here of the ultimate mechanism of control over the populace, control over the population. If your social score is bad on social media, you did something wrong, someone said something negative about you, because of the way you acted. All of a sudden, now your bank accounts are being shut down. It's all being controlled and manipulated on the blockchain. You go out, maybe now you get more parking tickets. Maybe now you lose your job. Maybe you're not allowed to go to the library and take out a library book if that's a thing anymore. There's so many ramifications to this. Maybe they take away your voting right. Maybe they block your voting right. Think about what can happen in a centralized environment that again has this significant tendency of over government regulation and government control. Now, if we dig in a little bit and we look at some of the more recent articles, and these are articles that really came out over the past week, some of these articles even then focusing in on mainstream, coming from mainstream sources. So let me switch over here real quick. I want to switch so that we can actually transition and share the screen, because we want to look at some of these key articles. This is also kind of showing us a direction and a tendency of what might be happening over in China right now. So here we have, with Xi's backing presidency, China looks to become a world leader in blockchain as U.S. policy is absent. Yes, we know that. Where's the U.S.? The U.S. is taking a back seat right now to the most important technology of our generations, moving things. It's the first new asset class in 400 years. We're seeing a movement and opportunity building up from country to country, whether it's wealth generation through blockchain development, it's investing in cryptocurrency, it's freedom of movement of currency cross-border with full transparency and inexpensively. But here, China wants to seize this opportunity with the U.S. taking a back seat. Many countries are scrambling right now to see who could be the first out there to really prove that a full digital currency works. We've seen the Marshall Islands. We've seen Bermuda talking about it. Now we see friendly crypto regulation in Portugal and Germany and Switzerland. Many countries around the world are embracing digital currency, are embracing blockchain technology, but yet the U.S. policy is very, very absent, and that's a shame at a time where Congress is wasting taxpayer time and dollars, squandering time simply to create and pass some insane legislation on impeachment, whatever. We don't want to go there, but let's focus on China, because can China, and this is a key question here, and this is right in this article. Experts say China could define the technology if it's able to take a lead, which could be dangerous. It could be dangerous from many different perspectives, because if they are controlling the technology, and you could even say that right now, like with Bitcoin, they're controlling the supply of Bitcoin. They're controlling it through the mining operations within China. We see trade wars going on right now, trade negotiation. Is China looking for a method of circumvention of potential embargo, potential tariffs, whatever it might be, through the formalization of their own digital currency for use in trade, which in and of itself has its own issues within China, being that their currency is already manipulated, it's already being controlled, their currency isn't stable. So if you move from a fiat-based currency to a digital currency, is that going to change? Are they going to gain stability and lack of centralization and control and manipulation of the valuation of their currency simply because they move from fiat over to digital? And I don't really think that would be the case. But it's interesting. So so here we are. Some concerns. But what's interesting is that you have CNBC talking about this. You have mainstream media getting into the foray of discussing digital asset blockchain because it's coming to the highest sources, right to President Xi of China, amongst others around the world. Now, other things that have happened recently in China, this is where you start seeing some tension because you really wonder what's actually going on. Is it a control play? Is it actually is something illegally transpired? Are they in this case a contract dispute? Are there competitors stepping up? Is there dirty politics, so to speak, happening within all of this? It's so insane right now. So if we look like Bitmain's miner, Bitmain is the number one manufacturer of mining equipment, mining rigs. China, it's based in China. Again, China is able to manipulate the mining of Bitcoin and the supply of Bitcoin, mainly by setting up cheap mines in mass. Now, Bitmain's miner manufacturing subsidiary actually had $680,000 in their assets frozen due to contractual disputes. What does it actually mean to the company? And what exactly is going on? Because here we see some contractual dispute going on between the subsidiary and another, where at the same time, we see, and this is really interesting because the opposite side of it, you have the founder of Bitmain rival. So this is the rival, Micro BT, was arrested for alleged embezzlement. Now, this is interesting because the sum, embezzling $15,000, I don't know what kind of money, what kind of revenue they're producing over there. What did he embezzle? Is it true? Did the rival have something to do with it? So you have a battle going on between the two, and here it is. So we move out of our normal, CoinDesk or CoinDesk again. Here we at CNBC. Here we go to Bloomberg News, Bloomberg.com, and headlines right here, under cryptocurrencies. But Bitmain's rival founder arrested as war of crypto miners heats up. Is that exactly what it is? Is it a war between the operations, these technical operations, and are in fact, there dirty politics at play when you see over here a subsidiary of Bitmain suffering a $680,000 freezing of asset, whereas the direct competitor was arrested for supposedly embezzling. And so you can get into it, you can talk about it, because there's so much more that was happening here, and that's so interesting. So Yang actually worked with Bitmain. Yang was a former mining chip designer, design director at Bitmain. He developed the mining giant's flagship Antminer S7 and S9 in 2016. Bitmain made $1 billion in profit by selling those in 2000. So $1 billion, that's sick. $1 billion in profit from a fledgling startup. Now, when he left to start his own, so this is where the tensions actually started. There was some allegation of patent infringement, and it's funny to see these kind of tensions going and this type of discussion going in the courts in China when we know that most of the patent and copyright breaches in the world occur in China. India is also parts of other parts of Asia, but China, as a whole, is really the known source of the breach of patents and copyrights. And here you have this tension, but it's interesting. So Yang's team successfully appealed to the intellectual property court in China to void Bitmain's awarded patent, and hence the civil case was dismissed. So it's interesting. So they went after his patent. The case is dismissed, yet they keep going. They get him for embezzlement. So these are the types of dirty politics. I don't know, maybe this type of thing happens in other parts of the world. I'm sure stuff like that happens. If it's happening in China right now between two competitive entities, could you imagine if this elevates to the global scene? And here's China having a controlling stake in digital asset and blockchain technology. That's food for thought. That's what I have to talk. That's really all I wanted to focus in today, but I would love to hear some feedback, some comments. Throw those comments in below. Let's get this discussion going. Let's dig up some other content for the next video. Again, this is Jeff with a Hodl review right here on the chain. Make sure you go check us out. 2 YouTube channels. We have On the Chain and On the Chain Live. On the Chain Live is where you see our interviews. That's where you also have On the Chain Roundtable. Over here on the chain, you have other content creators like One-on-One with Jerry Hall. And he's been doing a phenomenal job talking to members in the community. So with that, that's all I've got for today. And I'll see you guys on the next video.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.